Hello, welcome to today's video on the F1. So hopefully this is going to be the final video that we'll be doing, because as we proved last time, it appears to be working and it's doing exactly everything that it needs to do. So there isn't really much left that we can actually do with it. All that really remains is to refit the various heat sinks and other components and get the case put back together. So there is a couple of bits that I need from a small box of items I have, which is basically parts of the actual kit itself, or rather the actual set itself. And I've got quite a lot of the screws in here, just randomly assigned. So I'm hoping that I do have everything to put it back together. Certainly should do. The only thing that I'm probably not going to be able to reinstate is this, because about the dust that's got inside of it. If I try to reinstate this, which would be, let's have a look, this way round, it will go on absolutely fine up to there. And as you can see, that capacitor, way too tall. Now, what I might consider if I have any problems down the line is to possibly cut out a whole section here so that this will fit. However, I'm going to try it without having that on. So I'm just hoping that that's just a bit of an additional over-engineering exercise that we possibly don't really need. I'm probably wrong, but I'm going to go with that for the moment. So what we need to do is we have this heatsink that we need to refit, and we also have some thermal grease that we need to put back onto it. So if I remember rightly, we have this one over on that side. So what I'm going to need, actually the mating surfaces are quite clean on that already, so what I'm going to need to do is be this way up, and it will be 3 screws on there, so it's going to go on like so. Would that make sense? Yes, I guess it would, because you've then got the screws on there which connect it to the base of the machine. Same story with this one, so you've got these extended bits on here, so that would go onto there like so. Screw into there and then bolt into the deck itself. So I'll put some thermal paste across there, thermal paste across here. So it looks like on this side of the circuit, which is in, that's obviously going to be producing a lot more heat on that side than it is on this side. So what I'll do is find some screws which are suitable for that. Now, let's have a look in here and see what we have. Let's move various bits out of the way. Many different things in here. A couple of, these are useful. I'll put those in my collection. These are bridge rectifiers of a particular type, and I might need those for another project, so I'll just pop those out of the way, so they might come in handy. So I would guess they're going to be little black screws. Possibly not those, they might even be gold. So I'll be honest, I just took this apart, and unlike me, I didn't bother to make a note of which screws came from where. I basically just chucked them all straight into this box. That looks possible. Yeah, that looks viable, actually, that one. So I need another 2 like that. So there's 1. There's 2. And sure I have another one. Which I just thought, is it one of these with the washer on it? That would seem to make more sense. Yeah, that would make more sense actually. Okay, so I need 3 with the washer. So there's 1, there's 2, and that one's actually a bit longer. Okay. Some belts. I'll put those in the belt box, so the capstans can go in there as well. There we go. Right. There's one. We don't want the screw. We don't want screws that actually go in too deep. If you've got ones that go in too deep, they'll affect whatever's behind it. So trying to keep it as short as possible, but enough to get through that, and then just into there. So getting all of these ones that have washers on the end of them out. They come in handy. Also want to get these little black ones, these countersunk ones. Is it possible it's using these countersunks? Well, it would make sense, seeing as those are already on there. I don't think they're the right thread though. I think we'll need these black ones for the outside of the case, as it's held in with a selection of black screws, so probably get somewhere with that. That might be possible as well, actually. Yeah, that definitely makes sense. Right, let's take these 3. That doesn't look like correct. Looks like a PC screw. So we've got 1, 2, they feel the most correct, in all honesty. And is that possible? No, that's a different thread. If in doubt, move the bigger objects out of the way, and that will give you a better idea of what's going on a bit lower down. So let's have a look. Let's just put that to one side, and let's move that out. That gives us a much better idea of what we have and what we don't have. And those might work, actually. So let's grab up some of the thermal paste, thermal grease. Oh, it's got a couple of spatula spreader things. That's useful. It's got a little nozzle for it as well, so that will come off there. Puncture that like so. Then we can put the nozzle on. I'm going to follow the PC approach of when I do CPU coolers. Oh, that's a good point. That does actually look like it's sealed off at the end, so we'll need to chop that off. There we go. Probably want a bit more of a contact patch than just those bits there. There we go, that should do it. So work it around a bit, and there we go, that's good. That's what we want. So if I rest this on its end, like so, what I want to do now is to find where the holes are. Obviously I've put it in such a way I've lost the little holes. So I think there might be one around here someplace. Yeah, you can see them there, so let's start with that one. And yeah, there we go, that's the holes in place. So let's grab out my screwdriver set. Find an appropriate screwdriver, and there's one. It's actually in place, there we go. And then we'll do that one there. That one's in, and finish off over here. And just tighten those down. There we go. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. There we are. That's that one back in place. Now we have this side. On this side, you've only got two to put down. So this is the plate that goes onto here, like so. It looks like there was a countersunk, so we may need to find some countersunk screws to put on there. So I'll do the same again. It didn't actually have any paste on this side, but for the sake of doing it, I'll put some on that side as well. Now, what shall we put on? We'll probably want something that's countersunk. So those are countersunk and quite short. So they're going to be black countersinks. So I've got one in my hand. I don't think I have any more, certainly not that I can see easily, so I'll have to improvise with something else. But first off, no, that's too small. Let's see, the head of it's too small. So let's have a think. I'm going to try using these ones which have been washed. So let's pop that into place, like so. And I'll try, that one's going to be too big. Yeah, that's going to be the thread's too deep. Let's try short washed ones. You can see on there that there is a washer mark, so it probably had a washed screw on there at some point previously. And don't worry, those are hairs from my head, not anywhere else, before you start worrying unnecessarily. Right. There we go. So that's those on. That's that heat sink in place. So there we go. There's our supply back together. What I might want to do as well, but I'll do it when it's in the machine, is tidy that up a little bit. So let's grab up the rest of it. Move all the screws out of the way. There we go. So over on this side is where we have the heat sink. So that's our supply coming in. Actually, it's probably, let me think about this. Let's do the supply first. Then we will do this dark blue one into here. The red one into here. Go on. Come on, fella. There you go, that's the red one in there. I've got this little black one. Goes into there. There we go. So that is in place. So that slots in like so. And that should rest up like that. That should come over there. And yeah, that's why, because this would have gone through there. So I need to modify this slightly. I don't want to stretch anything out of the way. What I might have to do is so that would normally come out there, but then that would be a bit strange. I've also just realised that's on completely the wrong way round. That should be that way, because you have like that, and then you've got the screws there locking into there. Okay, let me have a think about this. Let's just put that there. Let's take this off. It's actually forming a good seal against that. Alright, let's clean that off. Technically it doesn't actually need any thermal paste on that side, but for added reliability I'm going to do it anyway, just because it just gives that extra little bit of heat transfer capability. As it's not really a heatsink on this side, although you could argue that the metal backing is a heatsink of sorts, it just doesn't have the thin fins on it, so it's not a heatsink with a large surface area. It's just basically a flat piece of aluminium. But every little helps. If we can transfer heat away and further away from the components, in my book that's a good thing. So I'm continuing with this plan. It's also because on this side there are less semiconductors than on this side. There we go, so that's those there and there. Make sure that everything is still plugged in, which it definitely appears to be, and then we can come back round for another pass. So that slots into there, that will slot with persuasion onto those. What I might need to do is ever so gently do that. That's actually nicely in place there, so if I get that screwed in, so let me check the, yeah, so I'm needing sort of screws like that to go into there. So I've got one. Hoping that will work. Actually, I just thought of something. If I pop this out a second, give this a bit more chance, give it a greater chance of working. What I'll do is that. There we go. Yeah, that sits better, and I can actually shape that down into there. So let's just make sure that's still plugged in. There we go. There we go, and there. See what I'm aiming to do. So keep that in place and then just press that down and in to there, so it sort of shapes over, yeah, like that, shapes itself over the hole slightly. Do the same for this one as well, making sure to scratch any wires or anything. That should do it. So if I look under there, just make sure I haven't upset any components. No, everything appears to be fine. Should do a more in-depth check. Yeah, I think everything's fine on that one. Okay, let's see if this one will work. I think that's probably that's too big. So let's try this one I found just now. There we are, that's actually shaped it quite nicely. So there's a step out and then back in for the screw. So that's worked out quite well. I need another one like that now. So we have a number in here that might suit, might do the job. Let's give this one a go. So that one is there. Is that going to be too long? No, it's fine. It's not interrupting any, interfering with any components in there, so I'm happy with that, mostly. Right, let's take this off, put the cap back on, that can go away. Now I've got to do something about this side, so that should be fine there. Just making sure I've got everything in there nicely. So let's find a couple of similar screws to the ones we used on the other side. Two that might do the job. There we go, that's one. And two. There we go. So that's the supply back in place. Now what we need is to screw this top cover on. So what I might need to do is to make some sort of RF shield to go over that, but for the minute I'm going to see. So I'm guessing it has that massive RF shield over it for when you run the video recorder directly on top of it. So what I'll do is not run the VCR directly on top of it. So this one uses black coloured screws for the actual case. Now I've got loads of those in here. It's just a case of finding ones which are probably correct. So they won't be too deep. they won't be too long. And that one I've just put on this side is absolutely perfect. So let's find another one like the one I just put on that side. There's another one just like the one I put on the other side. That's good, so we'll use that one. So that will come down like so. Move that slightly. And there we go. That's in. Oh, one thing I want to do very quickly, and stick that onto. There we go. That's basically a BNC to phono adapter, so I can run this over composite. We've got audio in, audio out, video in, video out, and multi out, and a switch for PCM. So you can use this. I'm guessing this would power. I don't know. Would this power the PCM module? There's a multi-out on there, and you've got this one which goes to the video recorder, which is basically the interface connector for the VCR part. You could actually get adapters which had that connector on it and went straight into the back of the video part, so you could actually run it off of a battery, which is quite cool. Right, now what I'm going to do is I need to find some which go on this back panel, otherwise that will start to come out. Those are black also. They are fairly short, fairly small, and there are 3 in total. So 1, 2, 3. Let's see if those are correct. Yes, perfect actually. Just means that it looks uniform, basically. Just looks correct. Even though on the inside, quite a few different things are going on. At least from the outside, it looks acceptable. Perfect. Right, now let's clear a space on the other desk. So what I'm going to do is run up the both modules together. So run this one with the VCR module. So that will come over like so. We're going to use the Amstrad to facilitate AV in. So let's just move that out of the way. Just put all of this stuff back in here. Oh, I'm keeping that out. That's a 64 gig USB key. That will come in very handy, thank you very much. Now, let's find the CRT. Right, you'll join me in a second when we're ready to test. So this is actually my first go trying to play back anything on this properly. I've got it plugged into the television set, it's powered up, and you're going to join me on this whether it works or not. So, just hit play. Certainly appears to be something on the screen. Let's fast forward. Oh, okay. There's a lot of noise on there. That could be the tape, could be that the machine needs a really good, damn good service. I reckon those heads need a really damn good clean, because this has not been used. Sound, mute. This has not been used in over 20 years. This is actually the first time it's ever been used since 20 years ago. But I'm actually going to leave it running, and I'm going to leave it running until this tape actually finishes. Reason why I want to do that is because I want to first off ensure that the deck is working properly. I also am interested to see what sort of temperatures we reach on that switch mode module, and also it just gives that VCR module just a chance to have a little bit of exercise. Now I'm half tempted to actually stop it and give the heads a clean, but as I'm going through watching this, it's getting less noisy, so I'm hoping that it'll clean itself up, although I doubt it will. These things are never that wonderful. So let's just fast forward. It does seem to be doing a fast forward search absolutely fine. Basic picture quality is still there as well. It has a ×2 mode, which does seem to work. As you can see there, that's ×2 mode. So if I hit play, that's obviously play. There is pause. There is also slow-mo. And I can also take it forward and take it back. That's one of the huge things about the F1, was all of the deck was driven by individual motors, so you could get fantastic replay in trick modes, instantaneous. There's no faffing at all. That's just instantaneous. It's immediately there. I'm actually wondering if this tape is possibly the best one that I should be using, because it is quite an old tape. Oh, and rewind and fast forward work perfectly as well, which is a bonus. So I'm just rewinding that one. I'm going to use my traditional go-to of one of the wildlife cassettes, which was recorded on a VTC M20, which you would have seen in an earlier video. There you go. Yeah, that's a lot better. There's still a few bits of noise on there, but generally that's a lot better. Could have actually just been the cassette itself, to be honest. There could have been sort of quite a few dropouts on that cassette, given that it's very, very old. But that seems to be working a lot better. Yeah, that seems to be a lot happier. Oh, don't want to do that. Move that slightly aside. Oh, don't want to do that. But that seems a lot clearer. I just think that Star Wars cassette was beginning to shed oxide. That's a lot better. Yeah, a heck of a lot better actually. So, because that does seem to be working okay, I'm going to hit stop. I'm going to rewind that cassette to the very beginning, and that's a full 3-hour cassette. I'm probably going to let that run for a couple of hours at most. Oh, yes, that is another feature of the F1, which is possibly a bit of a first in video recording world. The counter, I'm not sure if you can see that, but the counter is an actual time counter, minutes, hours, seconds. It's not a normal VHS counter or Betamax counter, which is just some random set of numbers that it seems to come up with and that's how it works. It is actually counting time. That's another really big feature of the F1, and also I believe the C9 as well. So timer recorder obviously won't work because it's not currently active. So it seems to struggle a bit, but that might, I'll be honest with you, that's just the age of it, I think. Let's see how warm it's getting. Unbelievably chilled, actually. It's actually cold to touch. It's not overly warm in here, but it's not exactly cold either, and the metal on this is actually cold to the touch, so that's a good sign. Anyway, I think these just need sort of an external clean-up, so that's got a few paint specks on it, but that's working. I'm quite pleased with this. I've now got a Betamax in my collection that is fully working. I have other decks which are, you know, some of them work, but the C7 works in fairness, and the VTC M20 also works, but the 6500 needs a bit more work, and the V8600 also needs a bit more work, but on the whole my Betamax collection isn't doing too badly. And this is just the latest in a line of units that I've managed to save, so quite happy with that. These were, especially this particular models, these were really desirable back in the day. Anyway, if you have enjoyed this particular video series, thank you very much for watching. Thank you for staying with me on this, and thank you for any suggestions that you may have put over in the comments. Anyway, thanks again for watching, and I will see you soon.